You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
Christy Tumey is our guest, Wilmington City Councilwoman. Let's talk about the convention center. Still somewhat of a controversial issue. First of all, were you in favor of the project from the get-go?
I was in favor of the convention center project to start with. I believe that it's going to be a wonderful anchor up there on the north side that's going to attract, and as you can already see, businesses into that area. Once the city was willing to make that financial investment in the area, now it's kind of like build it and they will come. We've had several other projects. And
do you worry they may not come?
I think
in
that
these economic times?
I think that who can predict the future, right? But I do believe that we are unique in this way. If you ride around our town in the summertime, even now, truthfully, because we're moving on into these vacation days, you're going to start to see a lot fewer North Carolina tags and a lot more tags from out-of-state people. That happens every summer. Now what the shift has been is we've got a lot more folks coming from the mountains, from Raleigh, from Durham, and all of that adds into the long-term outlook economy for our city. I do believe that once people do get here, they like it here, which is how come our housing has boomed somewhat in the years, and that they want to be a part of what's going on here, and they want to come on vacation. And we just had John and Kate +8 here. You know, we have really...
No, we had Kate.
I'm sorry, I apologize. That's right, Kate. John and Kate +8 minus John, right? So I think we are really in our area coming into our own, and part of that is the city's investment to making the riverfront beautiful and putting the convention center right down in that specific location. I believe is going to be a huge draw.
It's funded by room occupancy tax. Now what happens, times are tough, if room occupancy tax declines?
Well, we already have enough in that the fund right now to last at least for the first 12 months, and I want to say on into more like 24 months, but don't quote me exactly on 24 months, but 12 months I'm for sure of.
There's also a glitch in the private development portion of the deal with the proposed hotel. Mm-hmm. Can you give us an update on what's happening with that?
Well, it's still moving forward, but as credit has been tightened down on everyone, of course it's become more and more difficult for a large hotel entity to go out and procure that credit. They are moving forward. They requested an extension on the contract, and we said absolutely, we understand the economic times are what they are. They're not the only people who are suffering from that. There's other projects in town, as you read in the newspaper.
But they won't be
having the same thing.
They won't be developed simultaneously. The convention center will be done, and then the hotel portion will not. Will that put a crimp in the operation of that?
Actually, they have come forward and said that there will not be a discrepancy between the date of the opening of the convention center and the open date for the hotel.
When you say they, you mean the developers?
I mean, yes, exactly. Because of the way that they, you know, when they put a project plan in place, they put some fluff time in there for all other types of things that you can never foresee, so to make sure that they meet those deadline dates. So they're confident that they can meet those deadline dates, and I think that we're confident that they can.
Let's move on to this whole issue of forced annexation. The Monkey Junction initiative passed by a 6-to-1 margin, mm-hmm. and you were the only dissenting vote, the only no vote on the annexation. Why do you think everyone else on council voted yes? That's a pretty speculative question, but I'm curious, why do you think everybody on council except you believes that annexation is a good tool for the city?
You know, I believe, I can't speak for what they believe. I mean, the only thing I can speak for is what I believe, that I don't believe in forced annexation. I believe that there are many people who specifically pick their properties to be outside of the city limits, and that it is not, in my opinion, a good way to notify people that they have what is it, 60 to 90 days from the time they get the notification or they read about it in the newspaper that it's an issue coming up before the vote actually happens. They don't have an opportunity to move out of their properties if they want to do that. And by the time there's so much time vested in looking and identifying, make sure it meets the regulations from North Carolina law, that the city has a lot of time vested in that. So I think by the time you get to the end of that process, that it very much looks like, you know, it's gonna pass. But let me say this, the city would not bring it forward if they didn't think that they had enough people who were of the same mind thinking, same set, that, you know, it was gonna pass. So.
But do you think some of other council members are just going along, or do you believe that, or do you think that they actually believe that forced annexation is a useful and legal tool?
I think that in your gut, you have to vote the way that you think is best, and I think that those people think that in their gut that that's the best way that.
Because Margaret Haynes was on the show, Councilman Haynes, your colleague, and she said, before I was on council, I thought I was against annexation, and now I'm for annexation.
Well, everybody certainly can change their mind on issues as they come. I can tell you from, you know, being a citizen in the city, and I was pretty active in city government and politics before I actually ran for office. It's a whole new world when you're sitting on this side of it as it was when you're just looking at issues based on specific issues. And once you're on council, you have to look at things in a complete, total perspective. And so I can see how somebody would do that. You know, she has more information, obviously, than she had before. I'm guessing that was why she chose that.
In the past, though, city elections have turned on this issue.
Yeah.
And I remember when they did, and you do as well. There's an election coming up in November.
That's right.
4 of 7 seats, the majority of council, will be up for grabs. Now, it's interesting. This annexation initiative isn't official in 2010. Is that so? Do you think it was time so that the folks that are being brought in will not have a voice in this election?
That's an interesting question. I don't believe it was. I don't believe.
But you know what I'm saying.
I do.
The people that would be against it don't have a voice in this upcoming election.
Right. Right. And you have to be really careful with that too, right? Because that's how Jason Thompson got on council. I was an advocate for no forced annexation, and that's how I got on council from 2 annexation areas. So, you know, I don't believe that the timing of the vote had anything to do, because the vote actually happens now. Now, once they actually get into the city, it'll be in 2010, when they have to actually start paying taxes.
And can vote.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We're almost out of time for this segment, but do you think that that council rushed this to avoid the state's possibility on a moratorium on annexation?
That's a good question. There was some discussion about timing, and of which, you know, whenever they talk about annexation, I'm like, you know, I'm a no. So, you were
there from the beginning and you stayed there.
Yeah, I said I'm a no, so I'll listen to the conversation, but I'm no. If it has the word forced annexation, I'm a no vote on it.
All right, we're going to come back with Christy Tomey, Wilmington City Councilwoman, and more on Titan and the budget. Stay with us.